For me, one of the biggest selling points of the Zwift Ride is just how adjustable it is. You can adjust the stack, the reach, the saddle height, the fore and aft, pretty much anything that you would actually want to. Now, I've owned the Zwift Ride for just over a year now, but if I'm honest, I've never actually had it properly fitted. I followed the initial setup instructions and have made a couple of tweaks here and there, but then I've pretty much just left it exactly how it is since. So the question is, am I actually leaving any performance and comfort on the table? So I wanted to see whether or not an AI bike fit could help me with both the performance and the comfort when I'm riding my Zwift Ride. I didn't want a lot of fuss. If I'm completely honest, I don't have any serious niggles, aches or pains when I'm riding it. I just feel like I could make a few tweaks here and there, and that is why I opted for an AI bike fit rather than taking it down to a professional bike fitter in person for a full fit. Now, there are many AI bike fits out there, but the one I'd simply heard of the most was MyVeloFit. I've seen a few YouTubers online who have used it and posted reviews, and it all looked pretty promising if I'm honest. One thing I haven't seen though is someone use an AI bike fit on the likes of a Zwift Ride or any other type of permanent indoor trainer. So I reached out to MyVeloFit and asked them the question, will your software work on the Zwift Ride? And they were like, absolutely. People have done it before and had great results. Now that I'm a content creator, I then asked another question. Hey, can I ever go your software for free? I'm gonna make a video about it. And they said, yes, here you go. So full transparency for this video, MyVeloFit gave me full access to their service for a year. However, they didn't ask for anything in return. It was actually surprisingly easy. They basically said, yes, there you go. All of my words in this video are my own. There's no script. They've not asked for anything in return, and I'm quite simply going to be going in completely blind. So this video is just me finding out whether or not AI can fit your bike, and most importantly, is it worth it? Before we get into the bulk of the video today, I just want to give you a little bit of an idea of how I'm going to structure things. So first things first, I need to make some changes to the setup. MyVeloFit recommends that you have around 2 to 3 meters distance from you on the bike as it's recording your fit and the camera that you're using to record your fit. In my current setup, I've not really got the space to do that. So what I'm going to do is flip the bike around. This is just something for you to consider if you are going to use MyVeloFit. You might need to consider the space that you've got around your indoor setup. Have you got enough space there, or are you going to need to move your bike into another room? The second thing I want to do before actually doing the fit is fit these adjustable cranks. Now, after my Zwift Ride review video that I'll link somewhere up there, Zwift actually reached out to me and sent me these cranks. In that video, one of the things that I had a little moan about was the fact that for such an adjustable piece of kit, I was very surprised that it doesn't come with adjustable cranks as standard. Now, I run 165mm cranks on my road bike, so I would like to get this Zwift Ride setup as close to that outdoor bike as possible. Before actually starting the bike fit, MyVeloFit recommends that you do a quick mobility assessment, looking at your upper and your lower body mobility. I'm going to do that test first, and then afterwards I will jump on the bike. What I like about MyVeloFit, it's not a once and done, it's an iterative process. I will get on the bike, I'll perform a bike fit, I will upload the video to MyVeloFit. It will make some recommendations on some tweaks. I can make those tweaks to the Zwift Ride, upload another video, and then kind of crack on and repeat until it feels really dialed in. Afterwards, I'm not going to leave it there. I'm going to do a few rides over the next couple of days just to see how that fit feels and what differences I have noticed. There we go. That is the adjustable cranks fitted. Extremely easy. Really, really easy to do. In fact, the hardest part was taking the bloody sticker that they'd put on the side. I don't know what they'd use there. Already noticing that it feels a little bit more like my road bike. My cadence feels a little bit more zippy. So now we are going to move on to the actual bike fit, starting with the mobility assessment. So no judgment here, please. I pretty much spent all of my teenage years indoors on the computer playing World of Warcraft. So my flexibility is in the bin. It's something that I'm actively working on though. The mobility assessment was really straightforward. Essentially, you're required to complete 4 exercises looking at the likes of your squat and hamstring mobility, your ability to raise your knee and extend your leg, and then it also briefly looks at your shoulder mobility too. When you're all done, you simply upload the video to the software, it analyzes your movements, and then it gives you an idea of where you stand, how good your mobility is, and where you've got some areas of improvement. These results will also directly impact the range recommendations that you get during your bike fit. Moving on to the actual bike fit then, once again it's extremely straightforward. You film yourself riding on your bike, you then trim that clip down to 15 seconds and upload it, and then wait for the software to analyze it. That's optional. So that's our first bike fit done with MyVeloFit. I've uploaded the results, they've analyzed them, and they've gave me some adjustments to make. Slightly surprising, but we'll get into them. So saddle height, very much in range, if not slightly towards the high end. Fore and aft, once again, in range. A little bit closer to 4, so the front of the bike, so it might need sliding back a little bit. Handlebar height too low, raised by 10 mil. And handlebar reach in range, if not a little bit short. As I mentioned at the start of this video, this is an iterative process. I'm only going to make the changes that it recommends, and then we'll see what it spits out off the back of that. So for now, we're just going to adjust our handlebar height. We're going to adjust it by 10 mil. As I mentioned, using the Zwift Ride makes it super simple. So let's jump into that straight away and then record another video and upload it. So the second lot of results are in and they're interesting. So it's asking me to lower my saddle by 5 mil, and it's asking me to raise my handlebars by a further 10 mil. Now, something to note, at the start of this fit, you have a couple of options about how you want your fit to be. So you can either go straight performance, which I imagine is more of an aggressive road riding position. You can have a mix of performance and comfort, or straight comfort. I went down the middle, performance and comfort. If you look at my bike fit at the moment, it's not very aggressive. The stem is far from slammed. I haven't really threw the reach out, so I'm, long and low. And I would say my saddle height as well kind of feels there and thereabouts. So I'm a little bit surprised by these changes, but we are going to trust the process. So round 3, I'm going to make these additional changes and then I will report back to you. Right, so there we are. Test number 3 done, and it looks like MyVeloFit is happy with my bike fit. Everything is in range: saddle height, saddle fore and aft, handlebar height, and handlebar reach. It has given me some notes here at the bottom. So significant arm bend detected. This can throw off front end recommendations. So you may be told to raise and or shorten the stem. Interesting. Now, one thing it mentions is that if you are unsure, you may request a human review for more details. It is something that you can do as part of MyVeloFit. You have to pay extra for it, but you can have an expert bike fitter independently assess your fit and speak to you on a one-to-one basis. Now, I'm not going to do that in this video. What I'm going to do next is ride the bike I'm going to do an hour easy spin today, and then later on in the week, I've got a long zone 2 session with a couple of threshold intervals in there. So I think that's going to be a really, really good way. I'm not going to make any further adjustments to the bike. I'm just going to go off these recommendations. I'm going to report back what I think. So I'll speak to you soon. I've just completed my first ride following the bike fit. So far, so good. It's looking very promising. I'm trying to think of a way that I can be really objective about this, but one of the main reasons why I did this fit was comfort, and that's subjective. So if I could use one word to describe my fit after using MyVeloFit, it's balanced. I just feel a lot more planted. I feel like the weight distribution on my saddle to my handlebars is a lot more balanced. The adjustable cranks is also a big difference. I just like shorter cranks. I took a gamble and had them fitted on my road bike, and I had zero regrets. I also have zero regrets at fitting them to this Zwift Ride. I find that my cadence floats much more naturally between 90 and 95 RPM. And yeah, so far so good. I'm going to do one more test. I'm going to do a longer ride on Sunday. For context, it's now Friday, where I'm going to do some threshold efforts, and I'll report back then. Hello. It is another freezing morning here in the UK. We are just kitting up now for our final test of the new bike fit. So did the ride on Friday, as you know. Felt really, really good. Did an outdoor ride yesterday, around about 3 hours at zone 2. And today we've got 2 hours on the cards. So what I'm excited to test today is, yeah, we've got some zone 2, but we also have a 15-minute block at zone 3. And then towards the end of the session, we're doing a bit of durability. I'm going to be doing some threshold work as well. So that's going to give me an idea of how the fit feels when I'm putting a little bit of power down. I'm going to crack on now, and then afterwards, I will immediately give you my final thoughts. So yeah, let's have it. So that is my durability session complete, and it was quite tough in the end, but because of that, I've got some interesting takeaways to share with you. I'm going to finish my cool down. I'm going to quickly grab a bite to eat, and then I'm going to come back and share my final thoughts. I'll let you know how I feel about my fit, whether or not I think MyVeloFit is worth it, and who I think it's for. So yeah, give me a minute and I'll be right back with you. Right, I am back and I am much fresher now, and I'm finally ready to share my final thoughts on MyVeloFit and whether or not I think it's worth it for a bike fit on your indoor turbo trainer of choice, in my case, the Zwift Ride. So first things first, let's talk about my overall experience. I think MyVeloFit was a really, really good and very easy to use tool. The actual process was really smooth and dead straightforward. The website guides you through the whole process, and it's nice and easy to follow the steps. I probably could have completed the whole bike fit, including the mobility assessment and then the actual bike fit, including the 3 iterations that I went through, in maybe 30 minutes to an hour max. Obviously, it took me a little bit longer because I was filming the process too, so there was a couple of extra steps for me to take. If you are using something like a Zwift Ride, it's so easy to make the adjustments that it recommends. Every recommendation can be carried out on the Zwift Ride without you needing to buy any additional parts. And I think that's a major selling point for me. In terms of how I found MyVeloFit and the recommendations that it made to me, I'm actually really happy. I rode my Zwift Ride with these new measurements for approximately 3.5 hours over the past few days. I've done mostly zone 2, but I've also done a tempo and a threshold effort. I found that I feel much more balanced on the bike. The weight distribution between my bum on the saddle and my hands on the hoods feels much better, and especially today on that longer ride, I found myself feeling much more comfortable and less fatigued. Now, straight away, that is a major performance benefit. Even if there are no noticeable difference in, let's say, power output, feeling comfortable on the bike is gains. So I'm really happy with that element. I mentioned that I noticed some interesting things when I was riding today, especially during the interval efforts, and that was the distribution of, let's say, the effort across my quads and also my hamstrings. I just want to note that this week I've started doing strength training again, so I had a little bit of DOMS, especially in my hamstrings, but I noticed today during my threshold effort that I was feeling the strain in my muscles more balanced across my legs rather than, let's say, just being quad dominant. A couple things to note though, I have felt that the top of my knees, let's say the bottom of my quads, were doing a little bit more work than what they normally would. Now, that can sometimes indicate that your saddle is too low. However, benefit of the doubt, that could be just those muscles being used a little bit more than normal. But overall, I'm happy with the recommendations that it's sent me. Ultimately, I've spent a lot of time on Zwift in the 2 to 3 hour range, and I know today that objectively, I was much more comfortable and I didn't shift around on the bike as much. So that is a big plus for me. Now, I tried to look into the data to see if I could give you some real objective measurements in terms of performance, and there isn't that much to report. I think I would need to do this video over a much longer period of time, but ultimately one thing that I can point out is that my cadence sat much more naturally above 90 RPM for the whole session. Even with fatigue, it didn't really drop that much. I also found that there was no noticeable difference in my power output compared to heart rate. So yeah, if I feel more comfortable, but my cadence is higher, my power is where it needs to be, and my heart rate's the same, to me, that is an overall performance benefit. So yeah, really happy with those results. No complaints for me. Moving on then to some of the limitations of this software and also who might want to consider it and who might want to avoid it then. There are some pretty obvious ones to me, and you might have already noticed and you might have already typed them out into the comments as you're watching this video. The software is only measuring one side of your body, and for me that's quite a bit of a deal breaker for some people. I know some people experience less flexibility on one side of the body to the other, and I know some people have shorter legs than the other. So let's say you're wanting a bike fit because you've got some pain in the left side of your leg. You might not get a good assessment of that during this video. Even the mobility assessment is done from the right side of your body. That is just something to consider. Another pretty obvious thing that I want to point out is MyVeloFit doesn't talk about your feet and your cleat position. It doesn't look at your handlebar width, which could be quite a big deal for comfort on the bike, especially if you are a female or perhaps you just have a smaller build. And as well, it doesn't talk about saddle angle. Now, from my understanding, saddle angle can be a massive difference in both performance and comfort for some people, depending on your flexibility. I was really surprised to see that fore and aft is mentioned, but saddle tilt is ignored. I didn't mention it at the start of the video, but just a couple of weeks ago, I noticed that my saddle felt a little bit funny, and when I actually measured the tilt, it somehow had slipped down and it was -4 degrees. And by me putting that back up, so it's basically flat again, straight away I noticed big performance differences. If you wouldn't necessarily know about that, MyVeloFit may not point it out, and that might be all you need at the end of the day. So let's move on to then who MyVeloFit is for. I think this software is for people who, like me, just want to see if they can squeeze out a little bit more comfort and performance from the fit. Or perhaps you have recently picked up something like the Zwift Ride and you want to dial in your fit straight away off the bat. For a reference for those who have the Zwift Ride, I am 180 centimeters tall, and for me, Zwift recommends the settings M, M, and M for the saddle height, the stack, and the reach. Following the adjustments recommended by MyVeloFit, my saddle height is now set to L, which is approximately 172 centimeters from the middle of the bottom bracket. My reach is also L, and my stack height is K. So it's quite a bit different from those recommendations. So if you're just purchasing something, it might be a good idea to get something like MyVeloFit straight away to dial in that fit so it feels a little bit more comfortable off the bat. Who is it not for? If you have any serious injuries, aches, or pains, I'm not too sure whether or not this is for you. Now, not to completely discredit MyVeloFit, you do have access to that expert service where you can have an expert look over your results and analyze your fit. You'll probably be able to have a little bit of back and forth with them. But ultimately, if you fall into that camp, I'm not too sure whether or not I would be spending my money on MyVeloFit. I'd probably use it all and go for a professional in-person bike fit. And speaking of costs and money, how do I think the value proposition of MyVeloFit is priced? I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty fantastic, and I think it's very fair. And obviously I got this software for free, but I would spend my money on it again. You can try MyVeloFit for completely free, or you can have, let's say, the middle tier where you can do a bike fit on one bike and you can upload a certain amount of videos today to dial it in. For context, it only took me 3 videos to get my fit dialed in, and I think you can upload 5 videos in 24 hours. So that's really, really good. Or you can pay a little bit more. I think it's $75 to get access for a year where you can fit multiple bikes and upload as many videos as you need. I think that's really well priced, if I'm honest with you. I looked at the price of some professional bike fits in my areas, and they range anywhere from, let's say, £175 to £300. So if you've not got any, let's say, significant discomfort, MyVeloFit may be the way to go just to kind of dial things in a little bit. So that is a wrap. Would I recommend MyVeloFit? Absolutely. It is a yes from me, providing you fall into that camp one, no significant injuries, that sort of thing. I think it's really, really well priced, and it's just a great piece of kit to use. I imagine that a few of you will have some thoughts and feedback on this video and also MyVeloFit in general. Please drop them in the comments. I love to read them, and you may be able to share some really useful insight for anyone else who's watched this video. But thank you very much for watching. Day to day, I make videos about cycling, product reviews, and also vlogs as well. So feel free to stick around if that is your type of thing. I'm also thinking of doing a follow-up video to this where I look at comparing the AI bike fit with a real bike fit. If that sounds interesting to you, let me know and I will see what I can do. But yeah, hopefully I will see you in the next one. Thank you. Goodbye.